Okay, we're going to keep right rolling. We got 2311 Racing's number 45 driver, Kurt Busch, also 2017 Daytona 500 winner. We'll go ahead and open it up to questions. We'll start up here with Jenna, and then we'll work our way back.
Hey, Kurt. Back at LA, you reflected a little bit on the arc of your career and where you were professionally and personally in that arc. And then last week you were named to the driver advisory board, which sort of shows, how highly you're esteemed in this sport. I'm just wondering, how do you feel at this stage of your career to have overcome the things you've overcome and to be where you are now?
All right, check. All right, team owner messed it up for me. As far as, being able to juggle it all and digest it all, I think compartmentalization is key on being able to learn what to do in each situation as a driver, as a mentor. Even yesterday we have this new engineering kid and he's all excited and he's like, can you jack up the car after tech inspection and get gear temp in it? And everybody's laughing at him, but yet he said something very smart and sharp. He goes, well, this is my first day and it's the next gen car. I'm not jaded by the Gen 6 car and I have a clean slate to move forward with. And I was real proud of him for saying that. It's like, you're gonna be a sharp kid, just give it 10 years, buddy. You're not gonna know it all in one weekend. And so it's just being that extra person and an extra set of eyeballs to help everybody get better on this 2311 team. And a lot of that is because of the things that Chip Ganassi did for me. Roger Penske, Jack Roush, James Finch, and Barney Visser was really a great owner that I learned a lot from spiritually. And so it's been a good journey. It's been a good ride. And then with our group that's now settled at 2311, yesterday, like Billy Scott, my crew chief, I gave him a big hug, like, dude, finally you get to put your crew chief hat on. Now it's gonna be this crew chief driver stuff, let's go. So it's just knowing when to balance it all. And even with Jeff Burton and the Driver Advisory Council, there's things that I hope to do there to put in place so that the younger drivers and the next generation can benefit from, as well as help out our past guys. So just in a good spot. And I guess it's just wanting to give back to the sport that's given me so much.
We'll go to Bruce, and then
Bruce Martin with Speed Sport. Lenny Wood was telling me last night that not in terms of production pieces, but in terms of race car parts, this may be the closest that it's been to stock car racing in 50 years, because your parts can go on to Hendrick's car, Hendrick's parts could go on to your car. With that dynamic, how much change do you think that'll be on the crew side and on the driver to crew side to figure out how to make your car go faster?
Yeah, I see a few different directions that this can lead us. Some of that is lack of parts and pieces, since everything is apples to apples all through the garage. And then there's the fine tuning and taking it to the next level. One thing at 2311 that I'm really excited about it, and the information from TRD and Toyota, is all of these different channels of information. There's this app, there's this drawing, there's this graph. There was a 82-page wind tunnel report on drafting with this car and this final rules package. It's endless on the amount of information that you dig through, and you have to pick the right things to stack on top of each other now to just find that 1/10 of a second. But that's Daytona. We're going to get to Fontana, Vegas, Phoenix. I hope the old school handling comes back into play, where tire wear and tire management could come back into play. I have felt that twice during testing. As an old school guy, I'm out there at Charlotte, lap 20, And I'm like, just getting looser and looser and looser. And I'm like, man, is this thing that loose? And then I look in the mirror, and Reddick's back there spinning out. At Phoenix, it gave me memories of running my late model there in the late 90s and the Cup cars in the early 2000s. I hope that that's what this next-gen car does, is it makes you really get into detail with certain things, and then still brings back old school, put it in the driver's hands, and put it into the race strategist hands on, do you pit now or stay out? I'm hopeful for all that excitement at all the tracks.
All right, let's go to Alex.
Thank you. Alexandra with the Charlotte Observer. Kurt, Denny was just in here and said that a goal for 2311 this year was to have both cars in the playoffs. I'm curious if you have a sense of how achievable that is at this point and what your own expectations are.
We've set our expectations very high, and we have every ambition and every bit of focus and intensity to achieve those goals. Winning races, both cars in the playoffs, and for us, making a run through the playoffs to have a shot at the Final Four. That's what we want to do on the 45 car. There's no reason to think that we can't with the information sharing and the technology that we have with Toyota, the notebook that nobody has right now, that it's a clean slate, and we build from ground zero. Right now, we're tied for the lead in points, and we intend to work our way all the way through the first couple months with a points building frame of mind. And so it reminds me of 2019 when I switched to Ganassi. My goal was to get as many points early in the year, and it gave you this free mindset of relaxedness through the summer months because we knew we really pretty much were guaranteed a spot in the playoffs. But Dave Rogers has been a huge addition as a competition director, a performance director to 2311. Wheels has found his role as the competition director. Between those two guys, the two crew chiefs with Billy Scott, Booty Barker, I'm not just name dropping. We've got the right guys in the right places to gather the information from JGR and work with them and Toyota to make a good run at this in 2022.
Okay, let's go to Taryn, and then we'll come up here to Jordan.
Taryn Walk
Sure.
with NASCAR.com back here. What have you learned about Bubba Wallace now as a teammate rather than a competitor?
As a teammate, he's a listener and he's eager to learn. I mean, that's what any young driver should be doing. But it's funny on how the information's being thrown at him, and he goes, hey, man, is this something that's serious that I need to look at, or is this something that Denny's going overload on for data information? And I said, it's a perfect question, because Denny is such an analytical numbers guy. He will eat, sleep, and chew on them until it turns into a pulp. Bubba and his level, my level, we're all working together to find that right stream. And so this weekend is a great weekend to let everybody use their talent with feeling the air, seeing the air, and then digesting the information, and then reporting back on how each session went. And so it's just putting in that next level effort, and Bubba's ready to do that, and I see it within him.
Jerry Jordan, kickingthetires.net. On this new Drivers Advisory Council, is there going to be better reception, better communication, do you think, than in the past with how this worked? And you're on there, obviously. What is your overall role in I guess working with the younger drivers in the sport as well?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference now is the line of communication. We have started in the underground 4 or 5 months ago, and Jeff Burton has volunteered his time. A lawyer administration group has volunteered their time. Everybody is in a sense of being a volunteer right now. It's, I guess, like a nonprofit. But our goals that we have are long-term, and it's similar to a Formula One driver advisory council when they're working with the FIA or they're working with specific tracks, if they're working with specific TV contracts. It's all a collaborative effort within everybody in the industry. And so it's the right timing. And for my role, I guess each driver that's on the board of directors has a specific role, but the main thing is communicating to the other groups of drivers, such as the Hendrick guys, the Penske guys, you know, the Trackhouse guys. It doesn't matter. We need to communicate to everybody. And just like getting 40 drivers to give a thumbs up that we're going to announce this, I ended up Secretary of State for a couple days trying to round everybody up. But to get that 100%, that's what we're after. And that's the same thing we do when we're in the driver's seat. And so Jeff Burton has done a great job to work with NASCAR, the tracks, and all of our other partners that we're starting to move forward with. And you'll start to see some things pop up here or there. Simple thing was I tested Atlanta along with Chastain and Buescher, and they widened the front straightaway to 5 lanes wide, and the back straightaway is 3 lanes wide. And it was like, well, why'd we do this? And they're like, well, we wanted the front straightaway wider for other events and other things they were doing with Supercross and such. It's like, well, now we have more of an angle and trajectory that we've learned from all of our NASCAR data and the crash results that we've got to tweak the wall and add safer barrier to this spot on the racetrack, similar to the dog leg out in Phoenix on how we changed that front straightaway there. And they adjusted that with better curved angles and the safer barrier and the foam behind it. And SMI didn't hesitate, not one bit. And it was, okay, this is great. This is good traction. And I learned, oh, good. We just need to get good at spending other people's money. That's what we need to do. But SMI really helped us absorb just our first issue as a group together.
All right, let's go out here to Jordan.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. A lot of praise a couple weeks ago for the clash and the format, heat races, last chance qualifiers, and the like. It seemed to be a success on that front. However, unfortunately, you were one of the drivers that did not make it to the main event. So I'm curious, as a driver who didn't make it to the main event, how did you feel about that? And would you be okay with eliminations, type formats, limited starting fields for other points races throughout the regular season?
Oh, hell no. We have to have all of our cars out there. I was devastated by not making the A main. In all reality, we had to go and qualify first as a brand new team with no points. The track was, I'm not making excuses, but track was soup. It's a slang term I use when it's another 4-letter word. And the first 3 cars that went out qualified as the last 3 cars. Then the track started to burn in, and then lap times started to go down. I was just unlucky that they went off points. And then this weekend is off of a random draw. So we just need to get a bit more consistent on how we're going to set certain qualifying procedures. The LCQ that I was in was the roughest race, and it was due to not counting yellow flag laps. There was no reason to have a 50-lap LCQ and not count yellow flag laps. So I survived 3 restarts as the leader, and then on the 4th one, the train and the chain of events of bumper cars started. And unfortunately, we didn't make it through. And then it looked like the A main could have had more cars in it. There wasn't as much action. And so I don't know why they cut the number to 23 cars. 23 seemed very random. So I gave my little list to NASCAR, and hopefully we can polish up on things that need to happen for certain events, but yet still follow a nice trajectory that makes it to where it fits in a column everywhere. But when you have sponsors and big organizations and you're not out there in the race, that's not a good thing.
Okay, we'll come up here to Lee.
Thanks for joining us, Kurt. You were in situations where you've been with teams that are, kind of mediocre. Now you're with a team that's building. What do you say to, the younger drivers like a Chastain, like a Reddick that may not be with that alpha team yet, but have that kind of potential where, like Kyle Larson was a couple of years ago, and you wondered where would he be if he was with one of those top teams? I mean, how do you tell those guys to kind of stay the course until they get that opportunity?
It's similar to a question that I get on what would you teach a young Kurt Busch to do? And I go, okay, what age you talking about? And if I was a rookie when I was 22 years old, and wanted to set the world on fire and win every race. And I bumped into Alex Bowman a few years back. It was Dover. I don't remember what year it was. And he got to the mothership. I'm assuming it was just right after Dale Jr. retired. And he's driving in cup cars. And he's like, man, I got here. I'm at the best team. And it was a year that Hendrick was off. He's like, man, I'm just so deflated. I'm just like, hey, buddy, patting him on his shoulder. I said, a couple of years, you're not even going to remember this moment of me trying to pick you up and say, just throw some patience down and step on it and stand right there. And that's what I would have taught my young self to do. And so making it to the top, having a ride like Harrison Burton with the Wood brothers. Yeah, you're not quite at Penske, but it's as good as you're going to have, and it's good as you're going to make it right now. Find the right things that make the puzzle pieces work for your puzzle to find success. And so you're not going to win every race. You're going to have a battle just to try to make the playoffs, but find things that make it to where you're able to find your goals realistically and then to continue to advance. It's similar to Russell, I forgot his last name, the kid that's in Formula One, driving for Williams, and he's got the Mercedes connection in the background. You just got to stay the course and hope that it all plays out.
Okay, come up here to Dan.
Dan Gelston, the Associated Press. No retirement video this year?
No, we were busy testing.
Have you met Jordan? Do you have any kind of relationship with him?
Yeah, I met Jordan last summer. It was right when my window opened to do contract negotiations. And it was an awesome moment of seeing him in a boardroom and walking up to him to shake his hand. And he stood up. And then he sits down and he's in charge of the room. And it was within 2 minutes. He says, "We will win together." And I'm like, man, it was the easiest conversation I ever had with a team owner to know that we're on the same page on day one.
And last one, I know it's been a short time, but do you see any differences around the team, inside the team, whether it's, off the track especially? They have these branding deals, Jumpman, things like that. Do you see any differences that really separate them from the other teams?
Yeah, our team president, Steve Laletta, has done an incredible job of assembling a really strong team in the marketing side, the social side, the management of the accounts. And here we are. We've announced with Monster Energy close to 30 races on my race car. McDonald's will be on my race car later this year. Moneyline, SiriusXM. It continues to build and to have these blue chip companies and brands on being announced to be with our team at 2311. It helps all of these crew members know that they made the right decision to jump on board and to be part of this program. And so the buzz, the energy, it's all there. And just like I said at the beginning of this conference, it was great to just give Billy Scott a hug and say, hey man, put your crew chief hat on. We're going to do this driver crew chief stuff now. Everything's in place. And I'm really happy with the way our season is going to look in the next few weeks.
Okay, we got time for one more. Let's go up here.
Dale McFadden, FrenchSearch.com. Kurt, last month you tweeted out a picture of you meeting with the young drivers as part of the TRD driver development program. I'm wondering, I'm going to assume that maybe that was the first time you had done that. What was that meeting like for you? What are you hoping to get from them, receive from them as you're in this mentor role? And when were you ready as a driver and a person to take on that mentor role?
Yeah, that was my first setting in speaking to a group of young drivers that are part of the same system that I'm in with the TRD development program. I mean, I'm a new guy to Toyota. I love putting on the rookie hat every now and then, like I did for the Indy 500 a few years ago. And it's to show this group of kids, these young drivers, that, I've been through ups, I've been through downs, but it was to give them a sense of my heart and soul and my commitment level on, it's not just eat, sleep, and race. It's beyond that. And it was to give that motivation to the kids. And a few years ago, I wouldn't have known what to say to him. I wouldn't have known what role to really find. But now I'm not afraid to speak my mind and to be a mentor with a little bit of sarcasm, to have a little fun with it, and really to teach him, though, that you can win the race before the green flag even drops with your preparation, your mental preparation, working out, PR, social, your whole team. There's ways to win without even grabbing that checkered flag. And so that helps them build up other categories that they need to do to become a successful driver and get their neck stuck out just a little bit further ahead than the next guy.
All right. Thanks, Kurt. We got to get you on to the next stop, but I appreciate you coming in.